High in the Austrian Alps, at 1,500 meters elevation, where winter temperatures plunge to minus 20 degrees Celsius, one farmer grows kiwi fruit and sweet chestnuts, crops that belong in Mediterranean climates. No heated greenhouse, no electricity, no fossil fuels. The secret is a technique Alpine farmers have used for centuries that most modern gardeners have completely forgotten. A method so simple, it requires no technology at all. Stone. Massive walls of it, stacked dry without mortar, acting as thermal batteries that capture the sun's energy during the day and release it through the night. For centuries, this kept food growing in some of the harshest conditions in Europe. Then we replaced it with heated greenhouses and fossil fuels, not because the old way failed, but because the old way could not be sold as a product. This is the story of how stone walls, snow physics, and rotting wood kept Alpine farmers fed through brutal winters, and how you can use the same principles in your backyard starting this year. The core technique is thermal mass, and the physics is straightforward. Dense stone absorbs solar radiation during the day and slowly radiates that heat back at night as long-wave infrared energy. The amount of heat stored is a function of the material's thermal mass multiplied by the temperature change it undergoes. Stone has extremely high volumetric heat capacity, meaning it stores enormous energy per unit volume and releases it slowly over many hours. A south-facing stone wall in the Alps can shift the effective growing zone by 1 to 2 full USDA hardiness zones in the area immediately adjacent to it. A Zone 4 location becomes functionally Zone 5 or even Zone 6 right next to the stone. The air within a few feet of the wall can be 3 to 8 degrees Celsius warmer than open ground just meters away. This is the same principle behind Traum walls used in passive solar architecture, developed by Félix Trombe and Jacques Michel in the 1960s. But Alpine farmers figured it out centuries before any engineer wrote a paper about it. Terraced vineyards and orchards across Switzerland and Austria use stone-retaining walls not just to hold back earth, but as passive solar heaters. The traditional form is the dry stone wall, called Trockenmauern in German. These walls are stacked without mortar, and the air pockets between stones actually improve thermal buffering by slowing the rate of heat release. In 2018, UNESCO inscribed dry stone walling on the Intangible Cultural Heritage list, specifically including Switzerland. The technique is ancient. The science behind it is modern. The results are undeniable. Sepp Holzer, born in 1942, proved this works at extreme scale. He runs the Krameterhof in Rammingstein, Austria. The farm covers 45 hectares on the slopes of Mount Schwarzenberg at 1,100 to 1,500 meters elevation. The average annual temperature there is just 4 degrees Celsius. Winter lows hit minus 20 degrees Celsius. Austrian biologist Bernd Loach nicknamed him the agricultural rebel, and the name stuck. The Austrian government fined him and threatened him with prison for refusing to follow conventional farming practices like pruning fruit trees. He ignored them. At 1,500 meters, with no greenhouse, Holzer grows kiwi fruit, sweet chestnuts, 70 varieties of heritage cereals including einkorn, emmer, spelt, and wild rye, and extensive fruit orchards of crabapple, wild pear, wild cherry, and cornelian cherry. His system is integrated and deliberate. Terraces are carved into the mountainside with heavy machinery, all south-facing to maximize solar capture. Stone-retaining walls line every terrace, acting as thermal mass. 70 ponds serve triple duty as water storage, as solar reflectors that bounce light and heat toward plantings, and as aquaculture systems. Living windbreaks eliminate wind chill, which is often the real killer at elevation. Hugelkultur raised beds built from buried logs and biomass generate internal heat from decomposition, while holding nearly twice the water of flat ground. Holzer discovered that unpruned heritage fruit trees survive snow loads that would snap the branches of pruned modern varieties. The conventional orcharding advice nearly destroyed his operation before he rejected it entirely. Only 2 people work the entire 45-hectare farm. The system largely runs itself because it works with natural forces instead of fighting against them. 4 mechanisms work together to make this possible, and understanding each one is essential. The first is thermal mass from stone walls and rock outcrops. Stone absorbs shortwave solar radiation during the day and releases long-wave infrared radiation at night, warming the air immediately around the wall. This creates a measurable heat island effect, distinctly warmer than open ground just a few meters away. The second mechanism is snow as insulation. This surprises most people, but fresh snow has a thermal conductivity of 0.05 watts per Kelvin meter, which is comparable to commercial fiberglass insulation. Ground under consistent snow cover stays near 0 degrees Celsius, even when air temperatures plunge far below freezing. Root vegetables left in the ground, carrots, beets, parsnips, and leeks survive perfectly under snow cover because the snow acts as a blanket holding the Earth's residual warmth. Quebec City, classified as Zone 4, can grow Zone 5 and Zone 6 plants specifically because reliable snow cover protects root systems through winter. Wind protection is the third mechanism. Wind chill is often more damaging to plants than raw temperature alone. Stone walls and living hedgerows create sheltered pockets where the effective temperature is significantly warmer than exposed terrain. In the Alps, eliminating wind can mean the difference between -20 degrees Celsius and -10 degrees Celsius for plant tissues. That 10-degree difference determines whether a plant lives or dies. The fourth mechanism is decomposition heat from hugelkultur beds. Buried wood generates heat as fungi and bacteria break it down. Internal bed temperatures run several degrees warmer than surrounding soil throughout the cold months. The method was first published in 1962 by Hermann Andra in Germany. Research by Laffoon in 2016 showed that hugelkultur beds hold nearly twice as much water as flat control plots, which is critical for cold climate gardening where frozen ground blocks water uptake. These 4 forces, thermal mass, snow insulation, wind protection, and decomposition heat, are not individual tricks. They form a system. Each one amplifies the others. Together they create microclimates that can defy the surrounding climate zone. The key insight for winter gardening comes from Eliot Coleman, who farms in Harborside, Maine. Most crops stop growing when daylight drops below 10 hours. Winter gardening is not about growing through winter. It is about growing crops to maturity in late summer and fall, then harvesting them through winter while they sit in a state of suspended animation. The cold preserves them. The cold hardy crops that thrive in this system are specific, and most of them are deeply rooted in European agricultural history. Mache, also called lamb's lettuce, is hardy to Zone 5 and is the classic European winter salad green. In Swiss German, it is called Nusslisalat. It contains 3 times the vitamin C of regular lettuce and has been foraged by European peasants for centuries. It bolts in warm weather, making it uniquely suited to cold conditions. Miner's lettuce, native to Western North America and now naturalized across Europe, thrives in cool, damp conditions. Gold rush miners ate it to prevent scurvy. Spinach is one of the hardiest salad crops available, surviving hard freezes and bouncing back when temperatures rise. Kale actually improves after frost, as starches convert to sugars in response to the cold. Leeks are extremely cold tolerant and can be dug from frozen ground throughout winter. Carrots, beets, and parsnips store beautifully in the ground under mulch or snow. Parsnips, like kale, become sweeter after frost. Swiss chard is surprisingly hardy and will regenerate from its roots after dying back in severe cold. Winter-hardy varieties of cabbage and broccoli were selected specifically for cold tolerance over centuries of European breeding. These are not exotic plants. They are the foundation crops of Northern European agriculture, bred over generations for exactly these conditions. You do not need an Alpine mountainside to use these principles. You need the principles themselves. Step 1. Build or use a thermal mass wall. A dry stone wall even 2 to 3 feet tall on the north side of your garden bed absorbs sun from the south and radiates heat towards your plants at night. Alternatives include stacked concrete blocks, brick, or dark-colored water barrels filled with water, which has extremely high thermal mass. Position beds on the south side of any existing stone wall, brick building, or masonry structure you already have. Step 2. Create wind protection. The wall itself provides this on one side, but add hedgerows or fencing on the windward side of your garden. Even a simple burlap windscreen makes a measurable difference in effective temperature at plant level. Step 3. Add simple cold protection, but not a greenhouse. Cold frames are literally a box with an old window on top and cost nearly nothing to build. Low tunnels made from PVC hoops and greenhouse plastic draped over beds extend your season dramatically for minimal investment. Coleman demonstrates that a single layer of row cover inside an unheated tunnel creates a greenhouse within a greenhouse effect, shifting your effective zone 1.5 zones warmer. Floating row covers made of horticultural fleece, laid directly on plants, are self-venting, allow rain through, and provide several degrees of frost protection. They have been commercially available since the 1980s. Step 4. Plant the right crops at the right time. Sow cold, hardy crops in late summer, August to September, depending on your zone. The goal is to reach maturity before daylight drops below 10 hours, roughly early November at 40 degrees north latitude. Then simply harvest through winter. The plants are alive but dormant. Step 5. Let snow work for you. Do not brush snow off your garden beds. Snow is free insulation with thermal properties comparable to fiberglass. In snowless winters, mulch heavily around root crops before the first hard freeze for the same insulating effect. Step 6. Consider building hugelkultur beds. Bury logs and woody debris under your raised beds. The decomposition generates modest but real heat for years. Water retention nearly doubles compared to flat beds. After 1 to 2 years of initial nitrogen lockup, as the wood begins breaking down, the beds become incredibly fertile and remain productive for 5 to 6 years with minimal additional input. Heated greenhouses consume enormous amounts of energy. This method uses zero energy. Coleman's philosophy is biologic over technologic, preventive over corrective. Alpine farmers have been following this philosophy for centuries, working with thermal dynamics, with snow physics, with stone, slope, and sun angle, rather than burning fuel to fight winter. The Swiss and Austrian Alps represent some of the harshest growing conditions in Europe. Yet the people who farmed those mountains developed sustainable food production systems that lasted not decades, but centuries. The Alp Futur research program documented that Swiss alpine agriculture is an integrated system of landscape management, not merely farming in difficult terrain. These traditional practices are now recognized as critical cultural heritage worth preserving. The knowledge is not lost. It is carved into every dry stone terrace still standing across the Alps. It lives in every south-facing vineyard wall, radiating heat into the cold night air. You do not need a greenhouse. You do not need electricity. You need a stone wall, the right crops, and the understanding that winter gardening is really winter harvesting. The Alps figured this out centuries ago. Now it is your turn.